Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again with another Wuthering Waves tier list update. And the agenda for today is the second half of version 3.0. And of course, with the second half of 3.0, we're going to have the release of Mornye to the roster. A new sort of generalist support that unlocks a lot of potential at S1, but still has some very, very, very strong teams at her release. And what we're going to be doing today is, of course, going through the changelog, going through all of the different details, and of course, giving our take on where every single unit has ended up landing after this shift to the meta. So without further ado, let's just go ahead. Let's put our thinking caps on and get right on into the changelog. 15/01/2026. This is how you know Prydwen is weird, because they're from Europe and that's how they write dates. I know, traumatizing. Mornye just dropped, and aside from her legally being the best character design, okay, I'm just skipping. This is, let's just say the Prydwen tier list editor over here has like they really like Mornye as a character. We also figured, considering previous feedback, that changing up how we go about making the tier list should change a little bit in order to provide a more accurate depiction of the meta. What I'm thinking about over here is the fact that they decided to push Lene into tier 0 and kind of push a bunch of other sub DPSs down. So I think they got a lot of feedback from that from the community. I actually told the tier list makers myself that, hey, maybe this was like, maybe the messaging wasn't entirely right over here. So I'm glad that they've decided to take a bit more of a different perspective to the changelog this time with more explanations. So it seems like we're getting that here. Might be a little bit wordy. So let's keep reading. Firstly, and most importantly, we want to get rid of the tier list with no signatures involved. Nowadays, aside from a few rectifier users and characters who scale off particular stat requirements like Brant, everyone has a good weapon option that they can use thanks to the new standard series, giving everyone a weapon class with high base attack and crit. So what they're talking about over here is the fact that they have a tier list differentiation, where there's signatures and then not signatures. And the idea over here is to point out which characters are really, really signature reliant, because other free-to-play options are dog shit, or they really want specific stats. One of the reasons for that division is no longer here anymore, because, well, you just look at this, we've got some pretty damn fucking good standard weapons now. This is probably the best example over here, where you just see, if I do this, this looks like a limited weapon. It looks like I'm just hiding the effect. And even this effect is still strong. It's still general. And the thing is, it actually gives like 20% less damage bonus than an actual Sig. It's not that much lower. And if you can't clear with this, but you can clear with the signature weapon, well, the issue is probably with something else in your gameplay, because this little stat difference alone should not be the defining factor. And the thing is that we've gotten a bunch of these weapons added to the game, right? For classes where they used to have only dog shit weapon or dog shit options. Now they have an amazing standard broadblade. Now we have amazing standard gauntlets too. And the only class right now that's kind of just fucked are rectifiers, because, like, they got this piece of shit for some reason. Like, I read this, and I was just like, even Noah couldn't find, like, an animal that can use this. Like, what the fuck is this? Who the fuck is this even for? Anyways, that's just, like, there for some reason. Rectifiers are still cooked. But you can probably guess why the need for, like, the signature one, not that necessary anymore. And if anything, I would just say, add a signature tag to, like, Brant. Add a signature tag to Cartithia for those units where there's no other way to get the stat that they want, because, well, that's just kind of how it is. That's the explanation for this one. Hopefully it makes more sense after some of the glue that we showed. This makes characters much less reliant on signatures than they used to be, and makes for a ton of similarities between the signature tier list and without. Since the majority of people tend to get their SIGs for the characters they like due to them being guaranteed without 50/50, thank you Kuro Games, and our reviews and build sections are always mentioning the impact of signatures, we deem the no signatures tier list unnecessary now. I think that's fine. But due to time constraints, we'll only be able to make that change in 3.1 following Amiat's release. Also fair. As a result, the primary focus of today's tier list will be on the one with signatures, since we plan on getting rid of the other two. So, once again, think about it this way. This one, these two are basically getting removed. Now, let's go ahead, let's keep reading. I think they got some work over here when it comes to the to some other game modes. Doubled Pawns Matrix. Secondly, we decided not to create a doubled Pawns Matrix tier list or combine the TOA tier list with the mode. The impact of team performance matters a lot less there. That's due to standards for achieving a certain number of points being much less important than in TOA to clear under a certain time. This is essentially how doubled pawns matrix works. And this is how I'll explain why there's not really additional stuff going on. So in doubled pawns matrix, to get rewards, you don't actually have to kill a single boss. You'll end up doing it on your way to get the rewards, but you only need 4 teams that clear with 5,000 points each. You can get 5,000 points without ever killing a boss. And so the end result is that your goal is to simply deal this much damage, not actually kill anything. And when that's the case, well, you're just going to go for methods that are going to maximize the amount of damage that you do. And it turns out that there's not like that crazy of an investment required to actually just get 5k with each team. But the real issues start coming around when people start, this is what I'll call over-investing over here. Let's just take a look at this. Did I need to score 5,900 points with this team? Probably not, right? The longer you're able to fight like a single boss, that means you don't have to wait for spawn animations. And this just meant I was stealing HP and stealing clear time from one of my other teams. So that's kind of like where I think a lot of the misconceptions with the mode come in. And the end result is that it's like, hey, it's in a lot of ways, it can actually be easier than the TOA to get the scoring requirements. The two modes are similar in a sense that they're hitting a single boss target hard. However, one values a single team's performance much higher than the other. In DPM, just having good enough teams is okay. And that makes the scaling of the meta based on basically, right, how well you're able to play the team versus, oh, did you just meet the damage threshold required by like running a certain lineup? The end result is that like DPM, doubled pawns matrix, DOPA, whatever you want to call it, to me, it's just something that happens passively in the background. And if you're full clearing TOA and you're full clearing WHIMPERING, I don't think you have troubles with DPM. I don't think you do. I don't know anybody that had troubles with DOPA or that had troubles with DOPA, but then didn't have them in the TOA. It's just you struggle in every mode if you struggle. And thirdly, they have decided to value the ability to exploit permanently available tokens in Whimpering Waves. This means your plunderer Yohus are probably going to be on the tier list now. Basically, they abuse tokens in WHIMPERING. You make exclusive builds on the character that, like, you're only going to use in WHIMPERING, and then it ends up clearing really well. But it's super niche, and honestly, kind of a waste of fucking resources, because you could just build WHIMPERING characters that work regardless of it being a gimmick. And then you can use those WHIMPERING characters in other game modes, too. Anyways, enough of that over there. That's going to be the explanation of the token tag. Now let's take a look at the break tag. And this one's going to be exclusive to Lahai Roy units, or maybe characters that simply interact really well with break. Yeah, it's just people that interact with Tomb Break. You'll have Rupture, Restrain, Application, or Response. So Linnea's going to have it, Mornye's going to have it, Amiath and Luke are probably going to have it, and then we'll see from there for the rest of the roster. So that was just the administrative stuff, guys. Those are like the wide sweeping changes to the tier list. Hopefully those all made sense. They make sense to me, though I do see some people already getting their panties in a bit of a bunch over this tier list signature removal, or the tier list without sig removal, but do keep in mind that after we review the final list, you'll realize, okay, these almost look exactly the same. So without further ado, let's get into the actual placements and the movements of the characters, because there's some potentially controversial stuff in here. First things first, Mornye, added as a tier 0 support in both tier lists. We'll say something important out of the gate, and this is going to be a good one, because I'm glad it's getting shared by most people. Mornye is not the next Shorekeeper, unless you pull your S1. Mornye has two major meta niches, and they're with two specific sub-DPSs, Linne and Lupa. If you don't have Linne or Lupa, do not pull Mornye, or pull Mornye and make sure you get her S1. Because otherwise, you will be so disappointed by this unit, and you will feel like you just pulled, like, another Baija, or another Verena. And you will just be like, why did I spend all these limited pulls and, like, on a unit that I'm not really making a lot of use out of? It's worse than Chisa if you don't have either of these two. Mornye enables Lupa to enable her full mono fusion buffs in a hyper carry style composition, which cranks all fusion characters' performance up a notch. So basically, think your fusion hyper carries, your Encores, Galbranas, so on and so forth. They're doing a lot better now. Alongside Linne, Mornye gains access to extra buffs on her own as well, which makes Linne and Mornye the most universal support duo that exists in the game. They're effectively a wheelchair composition that I think can get most teams clearing in the game, But it's not like a wheelchair composition like a Hyacinth Tribi, where you put Hyacinth Tribi in and then they clear for you. Linné and Mornye are not doing any fucking damage at all. All they're doing is just really giga buffing one person. And if that one person isn't strong enough, you'll still not get the job done. It's a wheelchair, but it's more like steroids. It's more like steroids versus a wheelchair, because a wheelchair would imply the other people are doing the work. If your main DPS is not well invested in and you put this wheelchair comp around them, you will still not clear. So yeah, it's more like a steroid comp. But on her own, Mornye is not equivalent to Shorekeeper in general use. And you'll see her competing with, honestly, I don't even know if the competition is with Verena. It might be with Baija. Because Mornye's starting rotation is so criminally fucking slow. I think that the time loss you have on Mornye's starting rotation, Verena alone and her 2-second intro probably already is better. Because that's literally like 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds that Mornye has been spending in excess on field. I'm not even joking. Just compare the two. We'll probably make a video on it. Actually, let me add that to my list. I don't really know about this Verena comparison. I think Verena in a lot of use cases can be better. But, however, there are two meta niches. Mornye is undeniably going to be a staple of many meta teams, making her worthy of standing in the same tier as her best universal support. This is my take on this. If Mornye is noticeably actually worse than Verena in practice, now that people have gotten their hands on her, right, and they're comparing the rotation times in the actual field, if Mornye legitimately does feel like a step down from Verena based off of rotation time and those other factors, then I think Mornye should actually be in tier 0.5. I think she definitely warrants tier 0.0 performance in her meta niches, but if she's worse than Verena outside of them, then she's functionally the same as Arrow Rover, in my opinion. And look where Arrow Rover is. Because Arrow Rover is a tier 0 unit, right, in their niche team. And they're worse than Verena in other lineups. They're not as general, though, as Mornye. So that's why I'm saying Mornye could be in, at least in my opinion, tier 0.5 in TOA, if that's where Arrow Rover is going to be. If she's worse than Verena in general teams. And that is still yet to be decided because she just fucking came out today. That's going to be my take on Mornye's placement. Hopefully that feels like a fair analysis, because it is basically just, there's just like an asterisk on it, depending on further testing from actual people. The main reason for why she's up here right now is because they're charting her performance as Verena if she's not in her niche teams. Don't know about that one, though. Lupa, moving from tier 0.5 to 0 in both tier lists. So the new best sub DPS in the game, potentially. Like we mentioned earlier, Lupa just got huge buffs in the form of Mornye releasing, which enables her to be a universal fusion buffer for literally any fusion DPS in the game. The synergy over here is very simple. Mornye has a outro skill that stacks with other outro skills. You see here, it does not expire on swap. And the real issue with Lupa in the past was that if you didn't have Brant, basically, you didn't have, like, the ability to get Lupa's full buffs. Because as you see over here, she wants 3 fusion characters in the team. But Shorekeeper and Verena, who are the only other units with stacking outro skills, weren't fusion. And so you either got a stacking outro, or you got this buff. And so hypercarry teams weren't really a thing for her. Now you can have your cake and eat it too. You get these full buffs, right? Full pack up bonuses, all this good stuff. You get all of it. You also get a stacking outro skill. And so what that means is Lupa effectively gets to be like the best sub DPS in the game as long as the unit is a fusion character, because her buffs are just so insane. The end result is that Galbraina now has an amazing new team, and Brant hypercarry is also really fucking strong now. And also Encore is, well, probably, if you're willing to get Mornye and Lupa, then Encore will be the best standard unit. But if you're pulling Lupa and Mornye for Encore, you can do that if you want, but like that's also a decision that like most people would dedicate that many resources to like something like this, but you do whatever you want to do. Anyways, that's why Lupa is now S0. Hopefully it makes sense. It's because a lot of other characters are getting brought up with her, and they're all much stronger now. Brant, tier 1 to tier 1.5 with no SIGs, and tier 0.5 to tier 1s with signatures, with an expert tag added. And so basically, this is what's going on over here. Brant, as a mono fusion sub DPS with Chang, Li, and Lupa is worse. because Mornye came out. However, Brant as a DPS is legitimately so much better now, it's insane. So the end result is that, like, his sub DPS mono fusion went down, but then his DPS potential just skyrocketed through the roof. Basically, I just pumped out like a 1 million damage rotation with Brant because I was able to double anchor with all of Mornye's buffs. The end result is that, like, bro almost one-shot crownless in TOA floor 4 in one rotation. He's really good now. That's essentially what's going on over here. Mornye takes on the new main healing role in mono fusion teams, but Brant already did so much damage, he's now considered a DPS. And now the biggest loser over here, as you can imagine, right, with all these shifts, what's one character I didn't talk about that used to be in mono fusion? Changli. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this unit is effectively gone. With Mornye added, Changli is now the most useless and she's been funneled out of mono fusion. Because why? What role does she currently play? What? You're gonna run Mornye, Lupa, and Changli, bro? You gonna play that team? Nah, don't even play, bro. You ain't playing this shit. Bro, this thing's gonna be trash. You know what? Let's try it. I've got a built Changli. Let's try on the current patch. Changli hyper carry with Mornye. I want to see it. This thing's gonna be some doggy doo-doo, bro. This thing's gonna be trash. Let's check out the Changli build real fast. Hey, oh, we almost had an excuse. Now there aren't any. There we go.
All targets in sight. Leave it to me. Attack confirmed. Authorizing maximum output.
All right, here we go. Damn, Lupa missed that parry like crazy. I didn't even know she was capable of that. Ooh, kind of crispy with it over here. Boom! One rotation, brother. One punch, man. Holy shit. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. That's not like terrible. It's dog shit, but it's not terrible. Like, it might actually clear, but it's easily the worst mono fusion team in the game. Like, let me just get that straight for you. It's easily the worst one in the game, but it still might clear. That's how strong this core essentially is. Honestly, it's surprisingly not like bad. That's just like how strong, again, these two are together. And so think about what every other unit that actually does damage is dealing instead. Think about what every other unit that's actually doing damage is doing instead, man. Okay, never mind. This is actually kind of slow. What? Wait, how did I not get that true sight there? Wait, what was that? Anyways, never mind. That thing, it does not do enough damage per rotation. Even with that many buffs, it doesn't even, actually is not. I'm sorry, that still doesn't. I thought it was gonna maybe get crownless in 2 rotations, but it wasn't even close. Yeah, let's forget that one even happened. That's some steaming dog shit. You can probably see why Changli is probably gonna work out of fashion now. That's because the only way for Changli to currently work is simple. You need to play her in the traditional mono fusion team and quick swap like a fucking demon. That's like her only source to like real viability right now in mono fusion compared to the existing lineups. And if you're willing to make that investment, you can go for it. But 99% of people won't because A, they probably don't have Changli because it's been a while since she got fucking reran. And so you're literally like, the birth rate in East Asia. The number of Changelog players is just going to go down, and there's nothing you can do about getting more of them. She's going to be dropped down on the tier list, and essentially, right, only really meta viable in quick swap moving forward. End result is extremely low pull value, and you should probably avoid even thinking about a unit's banner like this. Qiuyuan, tier 0.5 down to tier 1. Due to Mornye's release, Qiuyuan is officially not Galbrena's best support anymore. I'll challenge his reasoning a little bit. This restricts him to the Frolova team, where he's only a marginal increase over the more accessible Shorekeeper. This is my take. To use Galbrena, a Mornye team, you need to have Lupa. And so, this is the take. This, to me, is like it's a rating based off of no other characters kind of being owned on the account. Because if somebody decides, right, let's just imagine this is a scenario that you're in right now. You have Frolova and you have Galbrena. Let's just say you're a person that owns Frolova and Galbrena. If you looked at this tier list, you might think that you should skip Qiuyuan with Frolova and Galbrena and pull like Lupa instead. That would be a retarded decision to pull Lupa instead of Qiuyuan if you have Galbrena and Frolova. Because by pulling Qiuyuan, right, you would now have a best-in-slot sub-DPS or very close to it for both characters. By pulling Lupa, you only have it for one. And guess what comps you can run as well? You can go Shorekeeper, Qiuyuan, Frolova, and clear. You can also go Shorekeeper, Qiuyuan, Galbrena, and clear. Can you go Shorekeeper, Lupa, and Galbrena? You can, but it's fucking dog shit. Can you go Shorekeeper, Lupa, and Frolova? God fucking no. And that's the situation, right? If you're in a universe where you have Galbrena and Brant, then maybe Lupa looks really good. But the thing is, it's a mono team. And so, there's not as much, like, flexibility in a character like Lupa, ironically enough, while Qiuyuan has a lot. Because as a sub-DPS now, Qiuyuan supports 2 attributes, Lupa only supports 1. So my takeaway over here is that I think this is a bit too ambitious of a move to drop him down, because as a general Echo skill damage caster, he has no difference at all, right? Or he has the ability to be flexible in attributes. Lupa has the ability to be flexible with her DPS, but you're still only covering fusion. I think the ability to cover multiple attributes with your main damage dealer is kind of significant. Especially with how often resistances can, I don't know, shift in the TOA. Let's just think about it this way, right? Looking at this example over here. What's one attribute that you cannot use this reset? Havoc and Fusion. Havoc and Fusion, right, are both attributes you don't really want to use in floor 3 and 4. How does Lupa feel only being able to support Fusion? Just imagine, right, if both were Fusion immune, because both are Havoc immune this time. Then she's doubly fucked. But if Qiuyuan was here, guess what? Maybe you can't use Frolova and Galbrena here, because Qiuyuan only supports Frolova and Galbrena, right? Who are Havoc and Fusion. Well, guess what? You can use Galbrena here with no issues at all. But if you're using Lupa, well, great, you can't play any of her teams on either side, because she only supports 1 attribute. So, do you see why, if we're based on flexibility, right? Based on flexibility, being not tied to an attribute can be a very, very, very beneficial experience for some units, because of the reasons I mentioned. And so I think because of that, bumping him down, when the difference in damage between, so Qiuyuan, Shorekeeper, Galbrena, and Mornye, Lupa, and Galbrena, they have a difference of about 5k damage per rotation. It's, I think, 1.7 million to 1.69 million. I think the wording, this restricts him for like a less than 10k difference in team damage. I think it's a little bit ambitious wording, and we might be shilling Mornye a little bit too much over here because we like her. Mornye releasing and Galbrena having a team that does 100, less than 10k more damage does not suddenly mean Qiuyuan is banned from working with Galbrena anymore. I understand that we like Mornye, but we don't need to drag other characters down when the team difference is that little. Assuming that's the team difference. Wait, let me just check, actually. Let me check. Let's actually see how justified, right, the wording is over here. Let's see the calculations. Clearly somebody that doesn't have a girlfriend made this. This is Galbrena with SK, right? A bunch of different setups. Yeah, 1.83, whatever. I'm looking over here at the Mornye, And it doesn't even look like the damage is that much higher. It looks like it's low-key the fucking same. Like, it looks like the damage is the same, if not lower. Do they have DPS in here? 25 to 30 second rotation. How long is this one? That's a 25 to 30 second rotation. This one is a 25 to 28. So they're like roughly the same fucking duration? If anything, the SK team's DPS should be higher because it takes less time to do. The other one is 25 to 30. So I guess after looking at all of this, this is my take. I think the word restrict is probably a little bit too ambitious over here to be like, oh, you're never going to use Qiuyuan with this team anymore. You're only going to be using Mornye and Lupa with Galbraith in the future. I don't really think that's like the case. I don't really think that's going to be something that's happening. And I think he should probably still be in tier 1 following that explanation. I don't think Qiuyuan, from like an easily replacement perspective, I don't think I've even seen him. As far as I'm concerned, from all the numbers that I saw, the Qiuyuan SK team does more damage because it has a shorter rotation and a higher DPR. That's all I've seen, is that it's a shorter rotation with a higher DPR, shorter rotation compared to what we're seeing over here, because it's 25 to 30 seconds. And then the damage is literally lower. It's like literally lower. So yeah, not really sure, but maybe I'll get more clarity in the future. Now we got Encore, tier 1.5 to tier 1. Makes sense to me. We've already explained how every fusion DPS has gotten buffed like crazy. Makes sense to me. Encore definitely should be going up. Jinxie dropping down from tier 1 to tier 1.5. That's fair because this unit has gotten no support like ever. I'm just going to be real with you. Her and Camellia have been like thrown to the wayside. Like actually unloved with literally no support since 2.0. Which is kind of wild once you think about it. But it also probably makes you think, yeah, we're going to eventually return to Huang Long, and then these characters will get, like, some actual teammates. That should hopefully occur. Because, yeah, her and Camellia are kind of just getting, like, cooked over here. I think that's fair to say. Havoc Rover, also getting cooked. It is what it is. And Chisha, also getting cooked, too. Despite the fact that she also has mono fusion teams, it's just Chisha doesn't really work that well because she doesn't do enough damage, so she doesn't even want to use Mornye. And Baizha. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Baizha is now the worst generalist healer in the game. Actually, she always was, but with a new generalist healer added, that just makes her worse. Nothing too crazy, aside from the whole Qiuyuan business, but guys, it's him dropping down like half a tier. And I guess the main thing is that I don't really think he's like that bad in like the Shorekeeper team that we're talking about. Now let's just take a look at the tier list as a whole. This one's going to be pretty easy. And the main reason why this one's going to be easy is that if we just look through it, right, starting with the left DPS category first, it looks almost exactly the same, except for the fact that Encore is now a more meta-relevant character than like half of the limited ones. I don't know if this is like probably power creep, but like also not, because it's also, I don't even know how to like talk about this, right? Encore is better than Jinxie and Camellia. In TOA, at least. Encore's still going to be dog shit in Weewa. But that's kind of just how it is, right? When you get a really, really good support, and you get a really, really good supporting cast, you are able to make certain characters really strong. And the thing is, both of these units over here, they don't have their limited 5-star sub DPS yet. She technically has Rosia, but Rosia's not a real unit, and Jinxie's just never gotten it. Now let's take a look at the sub DPS category. Lupa's bumped up, obviously, because Mornye is able to basically be a Verena or a Shorekeeper for her teams. That's good. Tier 0.5 is remaining pretty much the same. Not a lot of stuff is moving around. And now we got the Qiuyuan situation over here where he got bumped down. My take is that Qiuyuan kind of is too good as an echo skill buffer for every single echo skill buffer from here until the end of time to be in tier 1. Again, he got pushed down because we're saying that, like, Lupa and Galbraith and Mornye is way better than Shorekeeper, Qiuyuan and Galbraith. I don't think it is, though. I kind of don't think it is. Yeah, we'll just switch it to the Sig tier list because they said they're removing the old one anyways. As you can see, it's just Chakona being bumped up over here alongside Yuno as well, just within exclusively single target content. But yeah, that's the main difference. So Chakona moves up, Yuno's the only tier of 0.5, and then we have Brant bumping down, and then we have Qiuyuan bumping down too. Or, sorry, wait, Brant should actually be going up. He's up relative to the other tier list, down on this one because he used to be tier 0.5 before. So, yeah, that's the difference. I guess if we're looking at the Sig one as well, just on the main DPS side, updates there, Brant, like I mentioned before, is also a very, very strong DPS now. And he probably deserves the expert tag too, and would probably be in tier 0.5 or even potentially tier 0 if played well enough, because you can quick swap with him as a main DPS. But yeah, nothing over here too noteworthy to point out. And this is where tier 1 starts looking like a little bit interesting to me. Let me say it this way. Qiuyuan is probably way better for Frolova than Cantarella is. Simply based off the fact that you can just go like Shorekeeper, Qiuyuan, Frolova, and like go fuck the game up. It's kind of like more difficult to go like Frolova, Cantarella, and then like somebody else. Because that's just not as good as Qiuyuan, because Qiuyuan like deals more damage and stuff. Cantarella's main thing is that she heals. And so I guess from that perspective, seeing Cantarella in tier 1 alongside Qiuyuan when Cantarella works with one team in the game, do you guys get my reasoning now? He's a best in slot or like really, really close second on 2 different DPSs, and they're in the same tier when she just literally only supports one person. Cantarella works with Jinsei. Okay, so is that relevant? Like, great, she could support Jinsei at a worse level than Jeja. Awesome, yeah, she should be rated high off of that flex. What's the point of her supporting somebody that's like at the same level as Jeja, who's like, guys, she's only up here because of her synergy with Frolova. Do keep that in mind. Her Jinsei synergy is not like adding to this ranking. That's enough for me on my end over there. Changley's going to be bumped down as well, given that expert tag too. Phoebe's still in tier 0, 1.5. I think she could drop down to tier 2 if we're going to have Rosia and Yinlin down here, because Phoebe Confession Mode is some dog shit. And now for the last category on this side right here, we're going to have Mornye showing up in tier 0. And like I said before, I think Mornye fills this niche. If Mornye feels worse than Verena outside of her niche lineups with Lene and Lupa, if in practice she feels worse than Verena, I think she actually goes in tier 0.5. That's my take. But if in practice she finds herself to be at the same level as Verena and simply has above average performance in the Lupa and Lene teams, then I think she's tier 0. But for now, it's a wait and see moment for me. But yeah, that's going to be the TOA changelog. Now let's go ahead and get ourselves right on into the Weewah run. And the Weewah run is going to be pretty easy because the list of changes isn't that crazy. Mornye is going to be added as a tier 0.5 on both tier lists, and it's very simple. Mornye's best teams aren't necessarily like Weewah destroyers. Think about Think about Galbraina. Think about Brant. They're not really the most obscene Weewah units ever. And the end result is that even though she's a great support for those niche teams aren't like Weewah extraordinaires. However, she does have like some additional flexibility over here, apparently. It's because she works with Lene. And so you can run Lene, Mornye, and then any DPS with good AoE and probably get some strong results. Verena, she's going to go from tier 0.5 to tier 0 on both tier lists and also get that token tag. So the main reason for that is because she can do that Plunderer Abuse team, and then she's also just a good character to use. The main reason why she's great is because you can use her on side 1 of Weewah. Side 1 of Weewah is the side where you start with full Concerto but no Resonance energy. And Verena activates all her buffs simply from using an intro skill, while Shorekeeper needs her Liberation. And, well, I guess Mornye should be okay as well in Weewah on side 1 because of that as well, because Mornye just needs Concerto for her buffs too. Low rotation time, super fast on side 1, just makes her solid. And I've always said that she should be added back to tier 0. And now we're going to have Yohu, who's the other Plunderer Abuser, bumped up significantly just because of Plunderer Abusing. Camellia, however, is going to fall behind. And the reason I'm seeing over here is that there's a lot more Havoc-resistant enemies. This might be the end result of, like, Kuro just simply not wanting people to spam Frolova every single reset, so they throw a Havoc reset in there sometimes. That just ends up fucking Camellia in the process. And it seems like it's become a regular thing, so I think that's why Prydwen is factoring it in. We'll see. Sanhua is also getting a bit of a downgrade. And the reason for that is quite simple. Camellia is, like, kind of the only good character that Sanhua can support right now, and Camellia got bumped down, so Sanhua's gonna get bumped down too. It's kind of simple. And now we got Zhang Liao, Augusta, Zani, Baizha, Bu Ling, and oddly enough, I don't know why you don't have Yinlin on here, but you should put Yinlin on here. They're getting the token tag. And the reason for that is quite simple. It's because they're really good at using the Plunderer token. Because that deals electro damage, and these are all characters that, aside from Zani, because she uses a different token, these are all characters that can just put on electro 3 costs and go fuck up the game with Plunderers. I always clear with Zhang Liao. Because Plunderers exist. I have always cleared, gotten a 2.6k plus with Zhang Liao, like every single WeWa reset. I don't think I've ever not gotten it because Plunderers exist. So it's kind of just, if you have him, you should be able to clear WeWa based off of that alone because he's so consistent with it. And I'm saying Yinlin should also be counted in like that token tag breakdown that they're doing over here for another very simple reason, guys. She's also Electro, and she plays with Zhang Liao, and, like, when you combine these two together, they're just plundering the entire fucking server, bro. It's like so many Electroshocks, and they do decent damage as well. Now, let's take a look at the tier list, and we'll just look at it with signatures once again. Yeah? I mean, yeah, it is what it is, brother. And as you can see over here, Mornye is literally worse than Verena in this game mode, because Mornye kind of has, like, a fat rotation time, right, compared to Verena. Doesn't matter as much here, but you can see where my arguments are coming from, right? For where I could see Mornye being put down. Sorry, like placed down. That wrong word. Anyways, rest of the list, though, is looking pretty solid to me. Let's just do a quick review of the DPSs over. Wait. Hold up. Sorry. Is this... We got Frolova up here, tier 0, followed by Augusta. Then we got Cart, Galbrena, Jiyan, and Zani. I'm going to be real over here. I'm just going to be entirely honest. I think you get the best results out of all the... You get the best results using this guy. Out of all of these units, you get the best results in Whimpering Waves using this dude. And I don't think that there's anybody that can even, like, try to deny it at this point. He's much better at Weewall than all of these units. And, guys, this is my take. If you're going to place Kartithia in here under the assumption that somebody has a premium partner like Chakona... Surely, guys, Jiyan can be placed on this tier list with the expectation that he has a better fucking teammate than Mortifi. Is that fair? If she's gonna have the partner Chakona tag, he can get somebody better than fucking Mortefi. And let me tell you this, if Jiyan's with a Chakona, or Jiyan's with a Yuno, he fucks this game mode. Absurdly. Destroys this game mode. It's no competition at all. There's no argument. He destroys it. But when he's with Mortefi, he falls behind. But guess what? If you use a 4-star DPS with any of these units, or a 4-star sub DPS with any of these guys, they all kind of, imagine this one, right? Or imagine this one with Mortefi. They don't do very good. It is what it is. Rest of the list though, Camellia being bumped down, oh golly gee. If I am being honest, I feel like I have an easier time clearing with Zhang Li than I do Camellia oftentimes because of Plunderers, so yeah. Is Camellia the same tier as Yuno though? No. Yuno should be in tier 2 or 3. What is she doing in tier 1. What the fuck? If she's gonna be in tier 1.5, she needs the expert tag, bro. What in God's name is she doing in here? Her moon bow attacks can like only hit one person. She has like the most restrictive AoE I've ever seen. Like actually to the point where you'll be dealing 100k damage shots. There's 10 enemies and you'll damage one of them for 100k. And you get like 9 shots of rotation. She's just not, she needs an expert tag if she's gonna be up here. But otherwise, I think she could be here with the expert tag. Yeah, all these guys are too single target to be good. They're all dog shit. Yinlin should definitely be higher with the Plunderer tag. Yinlin's very good with the Plunderer tag, or Plunderer token. And the rest of these guys, I guess it's all right. Yeah, Danja can go with Frolova. Yeah, Linnea tier, she's not very good. Her DPS is, yeah, I guess, yeah, it's fair with me. I guess the rest of that list is pretty fair. Qiuyuan, everybody else up here, we got Mono Fusion plus Frolova supports. Yeah, it works for me. Bu Ling has a lot of grouping. Easily one of the best Weewa units I've ever seen. Very, very good pull for a lot of free-to-play players. Chisa's still a piece of dog shit. Arrow Rover's still dog shit as well. Spectre Rover also feels like shit here. Yeah, no, the Weewa list actually looks pretty good. Yuno should be bumped down. Yinlin should be bumped up with the token. And, I would just kind of... Can we just... Prydwen. Can we just, like, place Jiyan on here, assuming he's gonna use Chakota and Yuno? If we place Jiyan on here, assuming he's gonna be used in Chakona Yuno, he's tier 0.5. Can we just, like, at least recognize that? If he's with Chakota and Yuno in his best team, that's a 0.5 team. It destroys this game mode. It fucking does. Like, at this point, we just got to accept it. It's really good in the game mode. Proof? Let's get a little bit of this. Let's try it out on side 1. I shouldn't use the shield token, right? That one's just unfair. That one's just unfair, right? Nah, use it. Yeah, okay, let's use it. Hey, fuck it. Let's use it for fun. I'm already on side 1. Let's just see how it goes. Let me make sure I also have builds on people. Ooh, we almost got, ooh, that would have been fucking dog shit. That would have been really fucking bad. Resonators who inflict negative statuses recover additional, ooh, okay. Let's give this a go.
Ready for battle.
Thanks for watching. Ta-da! A grand overkill. A perfect spawn.
Ready for battle.
On you go. Present your offerings. Praise me.
All right, let's try it again. Surely she'll hit all these guys, right?
Fate
You're wide open.
in my mark.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. I am, this Yuno unit is like pissing me off.
Thanks for watching. A perfect chord. Now presenting a poem of
Okay, here we go.
with style and grace. Is that all?
Okay, we got the pounding going.
Entertaining? So, be my prey.
Ready
Bro,
for battle.
she just straight up missed that shot. Bro, she just straight up missed that shot. Oh, but this is where, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we picked Jiyan here. Did you just see him eliminate those 2 fucking dogs? Did you just see him eliminate those fucking dogs? That was 2 waves of dogs just gone.
On you go. Praise me. World at my strength. Answer my call.
For Lova into resistance is better? Of course.
Revealed.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting some big FPS drops. Maybe it has been too long since I played Wiwa.
Show begin. Now watch closely.
Take out Yuno. Guys, taking out Yuno would probably help.
The move.
You wanna know why? The number of shots this character has missed is unethical.
Ready for battle.
The number of shots she missed was fucking unethical. But yeah, what's the score on that one? 3.2. I'm gonna be real. As like a first try, getting 3.2 like that. Do you want to know why I decided to say that's a high tier team? Because I did this on side 1, guys. I did this on side 1 where I have Concerto instead of Liberation Energy. People are comparing it to this Yuno team down here where I started with full Resonance Energy. Starting with full Resonance Energy on a Liberation-reliant character is really strong. Because some characters really need their Liberation to deal damage, much like the one that I just fucking used, which is called Jiyan, very Liberation-reliant unit. So we just go and pull out a 3.28k on the first half with those restrictions. And believe me, guys, I've scored 3.84k on the other because I have my resources at the start. But that's what I'm saying. Very, very, very consistent levels of performance. Now let's go ahead and review the final thing over here. A lot of red, but I guess red in this circumstance is good. Let's see the pros. Mostly universal buffer and healer. Get strong with meta niches. Super cheap to invest into. Just get ER and she's functional. Pretty true as well. Part of the universal buffing core with Linnae and Mornye. I don't really know how good that universal buffing core is. We'll have to test it out. Party-wide defense boost, interruption resistance, blah, blah, blah. Her S1 is very accessible and makes her universally strong. Hey, true. Cons. Really wants a concerto weapon. Yes. If you don't have concerto generation on this unit, basically you don't have discord, you will just want to actually like seppuku when you're doing this unit's opener rotation. She potentially has the worst opening rotation I've seen if you don't have concerto. It straight up does not work. So you need a concerto generating weapon. Tomb break buffs are enemy dependent. There might be some enemies that can't be tomb broken, or there might be some enemies that gain immunity to tomb break for a certain period of time. There already are. And so, when Mornye's buffs, outside of her S1, are tied to doing a tomb break, well, you can see what some of the issues are. And that, in a way, can make her S1 feel even, like, more required, even in the teams where the interfered marker, the 40% damage already works, which I think is a little bit, you know, we'll see. We'll see if that becomes an issue. She's also not quick swaps friendly, because her enhanced state, hovering, ends. And then you have to rebuild it back up, and if that happens, you've bricked your rotation. And she's only a side grade to Verena if she's not with Linne or Lupa. I think she might be worse than Verena if you don't have Linne or Lupa. That still has yet to be seen. But overall, I would say this is accurate, and I'm glad they have so many things written out on the con side over here. Maybe this is why they did a little bit of extra glazing on the placement of the tier list, because they're being very open about all of the cons over here. This is entirely true, by the way. They're even going kind of like deep into like the potential mechanical issues with tomb break. So I think that, yeah, you can see what's going on. Mornye is not a must pull. Her S1 potentially is, but it's a not big expenditure. You can just get it if you want it, but you can skip it completely. Is she the next shorekeeper? Absolutely not. But is she really good in some niche teams? Absolutely. But is she at the point where she should be bumping down other people on the tier list that have established teams by being like 10k better? Probably not. Justice for Qiuyuan. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.